Hey, well, thanks for being here. And I want to talk a lot about AI and not necessarily what you want to hear. So, first of all, let me just move ahead, skip ahead fast. I've been talking about technology and AI for a long time. It started off when I met Christine in Kuwait and did a debate on technology. And I've been doing this all over the world for the past 6 years now, and have done about 40 different talks everywhere. And this really was heightened by a talk that I did last year at IATEFL on the best AI technology for your classroom is you. And just it's a whole different presentation, but to give you the gist of it, with all the research that's been done over the years, there is no evidence of using technology and having student retention. There's reviews of reviews. Everything that was done before the smartphone was even on the market. That is not the technology that we have today. And the problem that I've seen is teachers and school systems more and more are putting technology before methodology, and worst of all, before pedagogy. And even gamification is putting competition over comprehension, because gamification uses game mechanics to keep engagement high. But for me, this is addiction over motivation. I would rather have a motivated student than having somebody who's just addicted to playing a game, like many of us often are. Now, why don't most tech apps work effectively? Like I say, um, most of these applications that are on the market right now have no methodology and have no pedagogy. I was happy to hear Justin is working on an app from the school point of view. The school is developing it. I have also been talking with people from Georgia Tech and Stanford who are doing different apps, but they're doing it not from the coders and the ed tech point of view. They're actually educators who are learning how to code. So it's education first, not application first. And a perfect example is Duolingo. This is proof that engagement without pedagogy behind it does not teach. And more research is coming out to show that Duolingo just has not been effective as we think it is. Now, what are the motives behind EdTech? Now, for most of them, are they educating or are they data mining? Remember, this is a big business. And I'm not going to talk, we know all about AI bias, that the algorithms are definitely biased. 38.6% of AI facts are biased, and 70% of the stuff that we see is gender bias. And we have all these problems. This is a whole different talk. Cybersecurity, Justin talked about a lot of these. The thing that I'm finding, especially going to all of these different talks, this is what people are concerned about: how much water we're using and how much power we're using. They're not worried about the educational value of this. Now, EdTech, there's over 2,000 startups closed in the past 5 years. Now, these are all these new applications that come out, and you see them all the time. They come out and they fail. In fact, it's a 92% failure rate on these applications that are coming out for education. Some of you who have been doing this for a long time might Remember Flipgrid, which was bought out and became Flip, which then is now dead, along with Edmodo, Ed, Paper, 2U, In Bloom. All these were big answers to educational technology. They're already all gone. And there's a lot of reasons for them. Here's some more. NAC, even Pearson, Macmillan, they've all come out with different apps and they've already died. So what we're looking at is ed tech has a lot of problems and teachers aren't talking about this. Now, we all know the whole idea of freemium, and they're free today, you're paid tomorrow. The new one is next, they're gone away. Now, most ed tech startups fail within 2 to 3 years. And just last year, Matt Miller came out with, actually 2 years ago now, came out with a book on AI for educators, and it's already outdated because half of these products are gone and half have been replaced with better applications. Now, why do they fail? First of all, there's a long sales cycle. And especially if companies are selling to schools and governments, it takes a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. And there's limited budgets, not only in the educational institutions and with teachers. I happen to be a freelancer. It gets very expensive. And it gets very expensive for startups to maintain the millions of dollars that they need to keep going. Another problem, scalability. You get a good app that works great for 100 people, but when you try and go worldwide, they don't have the money behind it for the server power to keep these going. The other problem is user engagement. I tried Duolingo to learn Polish when I'm here. Major fail, but every day I keep getting emails from them, oh, come back and study. It's a struggle to get people to consistently use the apps. And there's no focus on the customer. What they're doing is they're just focused on the market and making money. And as I said before, there's a lack of pedagogical grounding. A lot of these apps, they're very flashy, but they're not educationally effective. Now, we know from research from universities all over the world that, first of all, handwriting instead of typing and taking notes is 15 to 20% higher in retention rates. We've seen from real research that there's more engagement and more learning, more memory from actually reading from a piece of paper or a book than reading from the screen. We know that we have a breakdown in social skills because people aren't talking to each other anymore. They're texting each other. And we also know that there's a definite problem with over-reliance. Yet in education, we're still focusing on using these things. Now, the big one, and Justin talked about this, there's a major backlash coming around now from students, especially at university and even at high school level, that they know the teacher is using it to prepare their lessons, to give them feedback, to correct them. And they're like, well, if the teacher's going to use AI to do all the teacher work, why do I need to do it? And this causes this vicious AI cycle that's going on where the teacher uses AI to create work for the student. Then the student uses AI to complete the assignment. Then the teacher uses the AI to grade the student work. Basically, it's why be a student? Why be a teacher? Just let AIs talk to each other and everybody can go to the beach and have fun. You know, the cell phone, of course, everybody has access to it. Everybody is locked into their cell phone with way too much screen time. Now, these from the United States point of view, between grades 1 and 2, the average screen time in the classroom is 98 minutes out of a 5-hour day. That's 33% of the student's day in the classroom is spent in front of a screen, which means how much teacher involvement are they getting? Less. And schools are actually setting up student accounts as early as first grade now. Now, psychologists will tell you that for 11 to 17-year-olds, they shouldn't have any more than 1 to 2 hours of screen time a day. Ha ha! Good luck with that. I don't think anybody in this room watching this does 1 to 2 hours a day of screen time. We do much more. And 8 to 18-year-olds are spending 7.5 to 8 hours a day outside of school on screen time. And then we're putting them in front of screens in the school. We know that more screen time means less interaction, less teacher time, and less collaboration, such as pair work and group work. So we put them in front of the screen, and we're taking away from all the things that make the classroom great. Having a teacher, being face to face. And after the 2 years of COVID, everybody was like, oh, I can't wait to get back and have face to face classes. And then they're sticking them in front of screens using AI in the classroom. What happens is it does impair speech. I know there's a lot of things that say, yeah, chatbots are very effective. There's also equal amount of research out there that shows, yes, chatbots are effective for some. There's gains when they do assessment afterwards, but there's an equal amount of research done in that same research study that shows using chatbots, a same amount of students do worse than face to face. It impairs cognitive development. It impairs emotional maturation using chatbots because they're not talking to people anymore. And I have a whole other talk about critical thinking. We don't have time to go into it. I could be here all day. Where is the critical thinking when we're making the machine do the work for us? Now, Justin had some specific good ideas, which I'm going to use a few of them. Thank you, Justin, for how to get around this. But we need to train teachers to do this because they're just using Kahoot in the classroom, even in universities around the world. So the influence on social adaptability, there's a new research out showing how bad this is. So what I'd like to say is congratulations. Yeah, maybe putting them in front of a chat box, they're speaking. So they might be speaking, but the problem is, who are they speaking to? Because they're not speaking to humans like they used to. Now, you may have seen this. This was something Sophie Winkleman did a wonderful talk on this. And this is a movement that's going on in the UK now about reducing screen time, reducing the use of technology in the classroom. And this was, if you get a chance, take a look at it. It's all over YouTube. It's about 20 minutes long, so we can't show it.
Good afternoon.
So we'll skip. But worldwide, 80% of teachers are using AI as a teaching tool. Under 20% are using it for preparation. Now, I'll be honest, I use AI to prepare classes, to prepare my abstracts, to prepare all sorts of things. So use it as a tool. It's good for us to help us a bit. But don't bring it into the classroom. And unfortunately, this should be flipped. It should be 20% for teaching and 80% for preparation. And when I was looking for pictures, I came across this picture of a classroom, and it just struck me familiar. It reminded me of the wall. And we're just putting people in front of screens and doing the same thing that we said we would never do anymore. Now, there's a lot of teacher tools out there, and there's some listed here. But equally, there's a lot of learner tools out there. So even though we're using the tools for us, the students are smart, they're using them for them. Now, I'm old. Some of you might remember when we used to have to write book reports, we used to buy Cliff Notes. We're always going to have a certain amount of cheating. We did it. I did it. Melanie, I saw you shaking your head. You probably did too. You know?
I remember Cliff Notes. That's
Yeah.
where I was. Not
Did you
because I
use them?
no, I don't remember them. That's how far back I go.
Okay, good for you. I did. I'm the first to admit it. So there's always going to be cheating. There's always going to be students looking for the easy way out. And unfortunately, now we're telling students not to do it, but we as professionals are doing it ourselves. And this is a lot of hype going on with EdTech. So my thing is avoid all the hype that's out there that's going on. And, you know, teachers are feeling pressured into using AI. The question is, who's driving that? You know, it's not the learners, it's our colleagues. When we go to these talks and everybody's talking, oh, if you're not using AI, you're going to be left behind. If you're not doing this, you'll be left behind. We won't be left behind, but yes, we could be replaced someday. But the industry are the people that are pushing this. Because what you have to keep in mind, education is big business, really big business. The ed tech market last year was $165 billion. It's expected by 2030 to be $773 billion. And out of that ed tech market, ELT represents 47 to 54% of the market. So there's a lot of money in this. And that means a 6-year projected growth in ed tech, 368%. I wish my income would increase that much in 6 years. AI in education is the 7th highest marketplace for AI right now. When I first started doing this talk a couple of years ago, it was 8th. It's now moved up to 7th. It'll probably move up very quickly to 6th. And what you have to keep in mind is AI is going to become more economical for schools. No buildings, no teachers, no vacations, no sick days, no anything else. Buy a program and stick the students in front of it. So what's going to happen is it's making a greater economic impact upon schools. Remember, we as the educators, we're not making the decisions for who uses it. It's accountants are. So the decisions are being made from the top down, which is wrong because in many cases, especially when you're talking about state schools and you're talking about public school systems, the people making the decisions were not educators, they're politicians. So these are being made from the top down, and they're not considering that we're the educators, we're the professionals. These should be made from the bottom up. Now, it should be from the users. So let's take a look. Effectiveness. Here are the questions that you want to ask yourself. How well is the AI dialogue? How well is it supporting the learning outcome? And what design principles were used in the development of that app? Look for apps that were done by education companies, not app makers. How accurate, how responsive, how technically sound is the app? Because we know this, from the days of television, and it's getting worse and worse, that we're giving students digital overload. We get it ourselves. Working on a platform causes cognitive strain. Everything is too quick. Daily screen exposure reduces attention span. Attention span has cut in half over the past 5 or 6 years. And there's a struggle to process or retain due to this constant sensory input, which all this, it causes learner stress. And, you know, comparing yourselves to others based on, let's say, a game like Cahoots, it's not healthy competition. A lot of people feel that if they fall behind, they get embarrassed. And there's lower motivation and a sense of being unsupported, unless you have educators who know what they're doing getting involved. Because remember, most of these ed tech apps are being developed by teenagers. This is Doge. Look what they're doing. These are teenagers who are professional coders, are making these apps in most cases, not educators. So what it is they're just going into things like practice over strategy, and it's practice over money. So my message is avoid the hype and ask yourself these questions. Does it align with my objective? Will it enhance understanding? Is it age and level appropriate? Does it collect personal data? Is it free or at least affordable? And does it provide meaningful feedback? The biggest question, will it do something I can't do as a teacher? And most of all, the biggest question you have to ask yourself before you start switching on AI in the classroom, why? So, with that, any questions, comments, arguments? I'm open to them.
I actually do have a question and a comment. Okay. In my
Right.
context, the students are all using AI to do their homework.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and there's a real lack of knowledge amongst the teachers about how AI is being used, how to
Mm-hmm.
use it themselves, what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be like a huge discord. And I would say they are educators. They were trained as educators pre-AI.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think it's necessary for them to learn it or learn about it, learn what it can do, interfere with the students using it, etc. And I think
Right.
that that's I think a lot of the developing world finds itself in that position.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and I think mostly this comes about because it's being shoved on us so much that everybody feels that they have to use it, even people that don't know what they're doing with it. And, I'm not saying that AI is going to totally destroy education. In some ways, I think it's going to help. I'll give a perfect example. Spaced repetition software is wonderful, and it does, I feel, a better job than the books. But the problem is with teachers that I think we're trying to find the easiest way out. Um, Good example, I love the old gap fills, which I always hated. Somebody plays a song, there goes 5 minutes. Now they give them a gap fill. There's 5 minutes to do it again. Then they listen to it for the answers. There's another 5 minutes. They're using AI as a way of wasting time, and they really don't know what they're doing with it. Now, there are good AI apps out there, and I'm not saying everything is bad, but we need to be trained on them. And we know during COVID, did anybody get trained? Very few people got trained. And fortunately for me, I had been online for years before COVID came along. Um, I still see it today. How many people use Zoom and don't know how to unmute themselves or don't even know how to use PowerPoint effectively? And then we're giving these people sophisticated AI apps to use. We have a problem. I hope that helped.
For me, I just think that I think there's a real need for teachers to be trained not only on using AI, but on educational technology in general, because students are
Great.
using it to do their homework.
Yeah.
And Justin made some good points about
Mhm.
going back to grading on the steps and
Yep.
asking for a reflective writing at the end. And I have found myself doing those same things,
Hmm.
but teachers just are pretending it doesn't exist
Yeah.
and don't want to know about it.
Well, this is why, I said right before Justin said it, we were on the same track. It's not so much about the product, it's about the process. And this is why I love project-based learning. And if you're doing project-based in the classroom or doing task-based learning, you know, even if they're using AI, you see exactly what they're doing in the steps, and this is what we need to do. And Justin had some great ideas. I liked it that along each way, hey, you can use AI, but put what you did and what you used, which I think is great for the teacher because now the teacher gets input on other good apps that may be effective for us. So I think that was a great idea. We need to rethink this and stop just jumping into everything. I see these all the time. If you're people are still doing talks about using Kahoot in the classroom as they think that's an effective tool. That is not critical thinking. That's a race. That's a competition. And quite frankly, we were taught very early on, stop, relax, give the student a minute to process, let them think before they react, but then we stick them on Kahoot to say, if you didn't answer quickly the first time, you're a loser. This definitely goes against any pedagogy that we've been taught. So I just want people to think twice.